Keep playing, Tom.
Hello, world. Are you there?
Keep strumming,
Sending
Tom.
a message out.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, welcome everybody out in Facebook land and to this special broadcast. We got just a really special show for you here, broadcasting on the Tom Chapin channel. And guess who's here?
Hi,
Tom.
Bill. How are you doing?
Doing well. And for those of you tuning in, obviously you're here because you know who Tom is, and this great American troubadour of ours, singer, songwriter, TV personality. I can go on with superlatives here. Tom, you've kind of done it all, but welcome. And we're really excited to be able to have this little conversation today.
Well, thanks.
This is high tech
for me.
Yeah,
high tech for me. Here we are, and I'm in Rockland County, New York, and you're in San Diego, Bill. This is Bill Hornung, right? And looking forward to talking.
That's great. Well, of course, we want to spend quite a bit of time talking about a new exciting project you have, and that's your new album that's coming out. But we're also going to be talking about lots of other things, I'm sure. We'll be sharing a little bit, I'm sure, about some of the activism and community work that you've been involved in, and some of the other projects you've been working on with your daughters, the Chapin sisters, and so we're going to have just kind of a full load of lots of things to talk about today. But
cool.
First and foremost, we want to kind of hear a little bit more about your album. Now, from what I understand, it's going to be coming out maybe in a month, but there might be some early copies coming out here fairly soon. Tell us a little bit about the whole premise behind At the Turning Point, your new album.
Well, I wasn't actually planning to do a new album because there was not a lot of new songs that I wanted to record. But Claudia at my office said, why don't you do a live album? It's been a long time. And this is the year, 2018, it's the 30th year of playing with Michael Mark and John Cobert, Tom Chapin and Friends, 30 years. So we thought that was kind of an interesting milestone. And then I started thinking about what a live album would be. And we said, every concert almost, someone comes up and says, we have CDs sitting in the back, and I go back to sign with people, and we talk, and they say, well, which one is most like tonight?
Right.
And I didn't have an answer for that because we do songs from across, the many years. But now we have an answer. Now we have this one is most like one of my concerts.
Yeah, and when I heard about it, I was so happy to hear that it was a live album, because I love studio albums as well, all the great work. But to really capture you and the band and all that, when you see and hear you live, it takes on a whole nother, feeling, a whole nother experience. Do you get that sense? Do you hear that feedback because you've done some other live albums as well?
I've done two, actually. One called on the album Join the Jubilee with Eric Weisberg and the great banjo player, and Scott Ainsley was on that, my daughter Jessica as well. And then later I did an album with Michael Mark and John McCutcheon called Doing Our Job. But and also we did a live Chapin family recording, Harry Chapin, A Celebration in Song. So those are three. But it's been a while since I'd done that. And there's something magical. The older I get, the more I realize that a concert is a magical thing. We live in an age of face to screen, and face to face making music is really pretty remarkable. I had to give a speech a few years back to California Kindergarten Association, and they flew me out.
Oh, wow.
And I said, great, well, they'll pay me good money, I'll go out. And then about 2 weeks out, I said, what am I going to say? You know? And of course, they wanted to hear some music. But I was talking to a couple of friends, and this music teacher, Betsy Blatchley, said, tell them that a song is a container. And I said, what? She said, somebody told me this once. A song is a container. When it's happening, everyone within earshot is in the same place. Whether that's 3 people or 10 people or a club where there's 150 or 10,000, it's a pretty magical thing. We're all in the same place, and especially in this world where we're so far apart. And we, you know, everybody, as Springsteen used to say, you know, you got your music, I got mine. The kid down the block has his own music. When you hear a song, it's a pretty magical thing. And you're talking to these kindergarten teachers. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get these kids, 10 or 15 or 25 little chickens all in the same container. And a song does that. And I thought that was a really good metaphor for the idea of what's kind of magical about this. You know, you do a song, you do a concert, and I'm up there, I'm kind of the leader, you know, and but it's stories that you're hoping will connect. And we recorded this in this little club in my hometown called The Turning Point. In fact, the name of the new album is At the Turning Point, which I thought was a great metaphor too, you know, for almost any moment in your life could be a turning point, and any song could be that as well. And so, of course, we started thinking about this and At the Turning Point. So I got together with my friend Cy Khan, and we wrote the theme song. And maybe I should sing that right away. What do you think, Bill?
That would be great. But before you start, just wanted to say,
Sure.
People can start posting some comments out there. We'd love to hear from everyone. And in a little while, we'll also be taking some calls, so you all can talk directly to Tom. But yes, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, this is the new one, At the Turning Point. It's the only new song on the recording. Goes something like this. We have traveled far, traveled hard, many a night and day. Stops, starts, turning points along the way. But now and then we come to rest among old friends and new. And my heart is filled with gratitude to share this night with you. At the turning point, we reunite with family and friends. One more December slips away, the long year ends. There's a touch of snow on the river road, the old becomes the new. Returning to the turning point with you. Well, the Hudson Valley's been my home for 30 years and more. The well that I found is like an open door. Streets and sidewalks comfort me, whether I'm up or down. I will never be a stranger in this old river town. At the turning point, we reunite with family and friends. One more December slips away, the long year ends. There's a touch of snow on the river road, the old becomes the new. returning to the turning point with you. Oh, may the bridges that we build never crumble, never burn. May our journeys never end at the point of no return. May our voices fill this room, lift our hearts in cheer. May we return to the turning point this time again next year. At the turning point, we reunite with family and friends. One more December slips away, the long year ends. There's a touch of snow on the river road, the old becomes the new. Returning to the turning point, returning to the turning point, returning to the turning point with you.
And when you go and you look at the list of songs on this album, that particular song seems to encompass everything that you've got in this album. I mean, am I reading that right in terms of the theme, that you've got such a great mixture of songs of reflecting on the past as well as kind of the current conditions out there in the world?
Well, it's interesting. We recorded probably, almost another album and a half in an evening. There's a lot more songs to pick from. And these are the ones that as we went through, that felt like they spoke to me today. One of the things about being a writer, you write songs, and sometimes they're what Tom Paxton would have called, they have a short shelf life.
Right.
And other songs which you don't even expect come back and right at this moment seem very prescient. Seem like we're talking like they were written yesterday for today. And that's been a kind of a happy thing to learn. And also in concert, that's true. We're living at a time when there's all kinds of stresses put on a citizen of the United States right now. And there's lots of fears about the future and the present, and something about these concerts that we do now seem much more powerful. I remember hearing that Howard Leventhal, the great manager of Pete Seeger and the Weavers and Arlo Guthrie and other people, once said, when times are bad, Pete Seeger, Pete's career soars. And in a sense, I understand that if you're singing songs that have meaning and articulate the human condition, then they somehow speak even stronger on times like this.
Absolutely. One of the songs that I really loved on this, Pass the Music On, really speaks to that in terms of this family of music that, I guess probably has its roots with Woody Guthrie and Pete and those folks. And, there's this Chapin branch, the Guthrie branch. I happened to I saw Arlo Guthrie a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking a lot about Pete. And it reminded me of you and all your brothers and all that. And it's just amazing how we go through these cycles of time where it becomes so relevant, even if they're songs from 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? And
we just did a concert in Nyack, the second year of Songs of Protest. And boy, is that a powerful moment right now to just revisit a lot of these songs. I ended up, I was supposed to be someplace else, in the last moment I could get there. So I sang Where Have All the Flowers Gone, Pete Seeger, and how powerful that is. When we're at a time now, it seemed like endless war in Afghanistan and you know and Syria and all these things that are happening, and I'm just thinking that song that Pete wrote so many years ago is just prescient right now, you know.
Yep, more relevant than ever. And just a reminder, you can feel free to call in, and we will be taking some calls. The numbers on the screen, and if you want to ask a question or two of Tom, we'd love to hear it. Well, speaking of those live performances and how that experience can be replicated, really, other than through a live album, somewhat, you've got some special concerts that are coming up pretty soon. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
That's right. Well, we got a lot this whole spring, but this coming weekend on Friday night, we're going to be in New York City at the Schimmel Center, which is at Pace University downtown. And it's Tom Chapin and Michael Mark and John Colbert, Tom Chapin and friends, and the Chapin sisters, Abigail and Lily. And so I'm so looking forward to this because I don't get to play with them, play these concerts with them very often. And this is going to be a very special one because they also have a brand new recording called Ferry Boat. I got a copy right here. And it's, oops, let me see. We got it. There it is.
There you go.
And it's an EP with this 5 brand new songs on here. And it's a lovely EP. It's really great. A friend of theirs, Evan, this great drummer in New York City, called them up and said, I want to produce some stuff for yours. So they got together 5 songs and went and recorded it. It's just really lovely. So they'll be there, and we'll do some stuff together. And it's a magical night, especially for me, but for the audience as well, to see the Chapin sisters with their aging dad.
But that must give you so much pride, though, to see how well they've evolved. And I mean, their harmonies are just amazing. And so that's got to give you a sense of pride, and to see the whole Chapin wave continue.
Well, it really does. They just astonish me, as well as Jen Chapin, Harry's daughter, as well. The next generation is just so musical and so and writing wonderful songs, and it's become a multi-generational thing, starting with my dad, and now with the girls, and they have the grandchildren are all taking lessons now. The California ones, Miles and Max, are taking guitar and ukulele. And Myra Jean, Jessica's daughter, she wanted a banjo for Christmas, and so Papa Tom got her a Deering good time banjo, and she's taking lessons. And every lesson, Jessica sends me a little snippet on, little video of her. She learned to play a chord this week. She's learning a right hand lick, which is fun.
Yeah,
and then Abby and Lily have these 2 little daughters. Who are both turned 2 in the last couple of months, and they're both really verbal and very musical. They're singing songs all the time. Of course, I have 13 albums for families, and somehow it's become Papa Tom in the car. So they know my songs. So that's really fun. Godfrey Daniels in Bethlehem many years ago. Wow, great. Who is this? That wrote that, I wonder. Hi, Tom. First say Godfrey Daniels. I'd love to tell Godfrey Daniels I want to play there again. We call them and they say, yeah, we should do that, and then or never answer. So I'd love to get back to that. Thanks. Words are important, Tom. Always sing them loudly. Well, you got the right guy for that. I make noise. Thanks.
We need as much noise as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, we hear you, Knoxville. Yeah. You're wanted in lots of places. You're going to keep busy, I think, this year.
Well, I hope so. We're not getting anywhere near Knoxville this year. I would like to. I'd like to get down Tennessee and also North Carolina. It's funny, but if there's somebody down there who and you have a place to play, go talk to them and ask them to call us, because we'd like to play. I'm aged to perfection. Chapin sisters, sure. And I'm going to be up in Saratoga pretty soon. Let's see. Actually, a couple of weeks. 27th, I'll be at Cafe Lena, another great club. This month, the 27th of April. Hey,
I wanted to get back to your band a little bit too, Michael Mark and John Colbert. 30 years. How have you kept it all together for that long?
Well, these guys are pretty magical. Michael Mark I met because he was one of the original cast members of Cotton Patch Gospel. Yep. And Harry had hired him before he hired me to be the music director. And so I arrived, and there's Michael. And within a year, Harry had died. And the joke is that Harry left me Michael in his will. And Michael says, I'm a connoisseur. But he's, the wonderful vocalist and an amazing instrumentalist. He can play almost anything. And so, and the very first kids record, Michael and I wrote a song called Shovelin', and we've kept up writing and doing stuff all along. And that very first kids record in 1988, I was looking for a piano player, and the first guy, my first call, couldn't make it. And so I asked the bass player who I'd hired, and I said, who do you get? And he said, get John Cobert. I said, who? John Cobert. Okay. And John came in and just was fabulous. And one of the things, you learn in a long life is when there are really good people who fit what you do, hold on to them if you can. And John and Michael, and John, of course, played in John Lennon's last band and recorded with so many people over the years in the studio, and also did a lot of ads. And he wrote the Baseball Tonight theme song. And wow. Michael Mark wrote Entertainment Tonight theme song, which is the second longest theme song. That's a residual you want to have, that one.
Yeah, right.
I think it's 30 some years now. The only one longer, I think, on television is Sesame Street. But so these guys are just great. John Cobert is one of the great piano players and keyboard players, and he very often will be the guy I record the new songs with, and one of the people we write with, and he's just great. So and they understand both the kid side and the adult side. They're just wonderful, and it's just fun to be with them. Be with them on the road, and especially be with them in concert. Because you never know what's going to happen. We end up every concert with Circle, and Michael ends up writing a tune on the spot, a lyric on the spot for Circle for every concert. So that's kind of fun. And those of you who've seen me with those guys, you know how good they are.
Yeah, you're always waiting for that. How is he going to pull this all together?
and what is he going to pull up? Yeah.
Right. It's fun. No, it's always a highlight. Speaking of, you mentioned Sesame Street. This is kind of an off-the-wall question, but it just kind of reminded me of something. I just saw the documentary on Mr. Rogers that was done years ago, right? And it brings me back to your show and this notion of children's music and the need for that kind of stuff. Do you feel that that's being? Do we have enough of it? I mean, it seems like we need more of that. Just amazing, great messages, thinking about, your world around you and the people around you, and everybody needs to be treated with respect. So much of what you put into your music.
Well, the first record was 1988 when my daughters were 8 and 6. And I didn't do and I had a children's TV show called Make-A-Wish way back when. That was really also for an older age kids. It wasn't for toddlers. And there was wonderful music for toddlers then. There was Raffi, and of course Pete Seeger, and Peter, Paul and Mary did a great record, and so did Tom Paxton. And there still is that today. There's great people doing really good music stuff, but parents have to work to find it. It's not necessarily on television. But you go to a really good bookstore in your neighborhood, and ask them about who's making great music. The thing that I discovered, and when my girls were 6 and 8, was that they didn't want to do the toddler music anymore, the Three Little Duckies or whatever it was. Right. But they loved the Beatles, some of the Beatles. They loved Bob Marley. They loved the Eagles because they could sing concert. They could sing harmony with them. And so the question was, what are we going to play in the car? And I realized that this is the last time, when kids get into middle school, then all of a sudden it's not listening to what their parents are listening to or with their parents. It's whatever their parents are not listening to. It's ever on the radio. Right. And so I said, boy, it'd be fun to write a record that was for this age, for 4, 5 to 10, and their parents and grandparents. And that became a whole career that I never expected, but the idea was to write songs that were kid friendly and adult safe. And I'm seeing some of the responses down here that you grew up with my music. And it's fun now because it's been 88. I mean, what's that? Is it 40 years?
Yeah, right.
30 years.
30 years,
and,
right.
And so that's at least 2 generations, And so we do these concerts, and a grandparent will come with their mother and their grandchild, and they said, "I brought Phoebe here with my and now she has little, whoever it is, little Robin," and it's really fun to see that happening. The other thing that's happening is that Simon and Schuster the last few years has put out a couple of my songs as songbooks, and the newest one called the Library Book. It's from the Library Song. It's in its 3rd printing, and it's been really amazing to watch that happen. The first one was called The Backwards Birthday Party. I think there's a copy of it behind me there someplace back there. But both of those are really wonderful books, illustrated by a guy named Chuck Groening, who was from Belgium and who married a gal from Syracuse. So he came to America and froze his first winter in Syracuse. He's a lovely artist, very talented, and it's so wonderful to watch these songs come to life in a book. So,
no, that's beautiful.
Fun.
Well, and not only the books. I mean, with your narration work with these books too. 3 Grammys. How do you? Is that
the interesting thing about that is they don't even have children's narrations anymore on the Grammys. So I'm a real time warp. They just have a narration. They just have a narration thing, and so you're up against everybody. But I'm so blessed. I mean, really, to win a Grammy is an amazing thing. I've been nominated 8 times, and so I'm a 5-time loser. But just being nominated is pretty amazing, and I'm thrilled that it happened. And it's nice when little Elspeth, one of my 2-year-old granddaughters, goes, "What's that, Daddy? What's that, Papa Tom?"
Right.
That's the Grammy. It looks like a horn.
Right. Just a reminder, we're going to be taking calls with Tom, so feel free to call the number you see on your screen, and I'm sure he'd love to answer any questions you have as well. So, but back to your wide variety of careers. I mean, has that what has helped in terms of longevity? I mean, you've worked on TV, some film, some obviously singing, songwriting. Does that just keep things interesting for you? And is that part of what keeps you going?
Well, I mean, it was really, it's a function of what was necessary. I didn't want to be a road warrior, being on the road, 250 days a year just to make ends meet and pay the bills. Cats in the Cradle and all that. Right. So when that door opened, and I didn't have a hit record, like Harry did, and people who lived this long and been in this business this long. But I had the TV show, and then other things kind of, one of my watchwords has been, and I say this to the girls, my daughters and kids who say, what do you say to somebody who's starting in show business? I said, if there's a door that opens, a possibility, investigate it. Don't just say, no, I don't do that. And that's been really a watchword for me. And I've bounced into all kinds of interesting things. And luckily it's been looking back, there seemed to be a path. But when you're in the path, you have no idea exactly, hey, we're not getting enough gigs, right? Whatever, there's always that, how to pay the bills and how to also to do your art. An artist in America is, it's not the easiest of jobs, but it is one of the most rewarding. And I as I say, I feel blessed to be able to be here talking to people who want to talk to me and who have heard my music and it means something to them, And you go out and you sing a song and somebody comes up and says, Cats in the Cradle, it changed my world. It changed my life. I was working on Wall Street and I was just never saw my kids, and all of a sudden I heard that song and I changed my life. And things like that, and you go, wow, these songs that can really make a difference. And so you're lucky, My wife and I lived in Chapin for years. We loved it so much we named our first son Jeremy Chapin. Of cool.
Wow.
That's pressure.
Yeah, right. Living up to that, right?
There he is. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You realize this year is going to be, Harry died at 38. And next year will be 38 years since he died, which is amazing. 1981. And so, 2019 will be 38 years. So he'd been gone as long as he lived. It's hard, and yet those songs, and the people remember, which is great. Oh, look at us, Sorkin music. Look at that. And there's my dad with Harry, dad, and during World War II, Chapin brothers. Thank you for following. Wow. And this one I remember. I got that picture from a gentleman who came to one of my concerts and said, "I saw you in Germany in 1980 with Harry, and I got a picture. You want to see it?" And so he sent it to me, and that's a picture of us at one of the air bases in Germany. That we did something like a 17-day trip with families all through Germany and France, and the way we paid for it was by playing the army bases. And wow, that's a while ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot. That's amazing. I wasn't really thinking about the dates, but that's a pretty incredible milestone coming.
1981, July 1981 is when Harry died. But Why Hunger is just doing incredible work. Long Island Cares, and the ones that have named for him, the Harry Chapin Food Bank in down in Florida and Fort Myers. So it's a pretty remarkable life, as I said before, it's one of the proudest things when people come up and say, Harry meant this much to me. It's pretty cool when your older brother is thought of that much and remembered.
Right. Well, and you and Steve both have done so much to keep his vision alive. You in particular working on with the Why Hunger board and all that. What was really the the motivation to do that early on when you all started getting so involved? I mean, you grew up in an artistic family, but sure. I never got the sense that it was necessarily socially active, but you all really embraced that.
Well, there actually were some very politically active people. My aunt Happy Happy Leacock was very involved and head of sociology at City College, and her second marriage was Jim Houghton, who was a real worked on getting workers' rights and stuff. So it was a left wing family who was really some of us politically active. My mom was not necessarily. My dad wasn't really. But when we got into folk music. And the Weavers.
That started it.
And one of the things that you liked about that was that the music was talking about real people. It wasn't just hit records. It was, 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. And these songs that were about working class people and people across the board. And that got very exciting. And then because you're in making this kind of music, they start to be benefit concerts and people ask you to do stuff for good causes. And then Harry, of course, became, after Taxi and then Cats in the Cradle, he was a major star. And he used to say, it's just being a rock star is not the most exciting thing in the world. I mean, it's great, but it's not changing the world in any way. And he was looking for something to matter. He really wanted to matter. And he and Bill Ayers together decided to start to do a Bangladesh type concert, a big concert for hunger. And in the course of, then it never happened, at the UN, but in the course of studying that and thinking about it, they realized this was a problem that could be solved and should be solved. But the only way it would happen is if they're going to be here today, next week, next year, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. And so both of them kind of dedicated their lives to starting Why Hunger. And then it was called World Hunger Year. And Bill is still very involved. He's not the director anymore, but he's there doing his work. And Harry spent the rest of his life there. And I was his benefit band for the last 5 years of his life, from about 1976 to 81 when he died. And I'm not knowing it that it was going to be that, but I'm so thankful now because we got a chance to travel together and spend time together that I wouldn't have otherwise, because I had my own career. But I did 20 or 30 concerts a year just with him to raise money for Why Hunger. And then he said early on, he said, "Hey Tom, we have to get serious about this. We have to get a board for World Hunger Year, a board of directors." "Oh, okay." He says, "You want to be on it?" And I said, "I don't know. Do I?" He says, "Yes, you do." So I am now the longest running board member and it's, as I said, it's one of the proudest things I do.
Oh, absolutely. And all the other, I know you're involved in many other efforts, and whether it's clean water or other things that you've been involved in over the years. And I guess it is part of that, going back to Pete Seeger and all that, you almost had to. It was in your DNA, right?
I think it is, and it's also you become a parent and then a grandparent, and we are citizens of this country, which is still the best possible, in all its faults is still the best hope, and the only way it works is if you and I are active and try to make sure that it's doing, and raise our voices and vote. And you can see how close the last election was and what a big difference that made, And so, it's really about that thing of trying to make your life matter in a positive way. And artistically, you can do that, as Harry used to say, being a rock star is a bully pulpit. People listen to me now, and they wouldn't have otherwise. So that's great. And I wanted, you mentioned one of the songs. I thought I should probably sing another one again. This is the one about the Chapin boys. My friend Cy Khan, this is also by Cy Khan with me. He comes to me, he says, "I'm coming to New York. You want to do some writing?" I said, "Sure." So he said, "Well, bring me some songs. Bring me some stories." And so this story I told him was about the Chapin boys, hearing the Weavers at Carnegie Hall, the recording, and how it changed our world. And that became this song. "I did not learn this music at my grandma's knee, but from some old musicians I never got to see. And I know them by their records, their voices, and their songs. I am blessed to be with you tonight, to pass the music on. For the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain, it's the song of generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old-time music of good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. Well, I'm not traditional and I've never claimed to be, but I come from a tradition that others made for me. They're still alive inside my heart, although they're now long gone. I like to think they trusted me to pass the music on, for the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain. It's the song of generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old-time music of good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. And most of the songs I've got tonight, I must admit I wrote. Others I've learned heart to heart instead of note by note. And now as I grow older and new folk come along, I'll help you out the best I can. Pass the music on. Oh, I sung these songs to some old friends tunes I never will forget. And I've sung them with an audience of folks I've hardly met. So here we are together to celebrate the song. We'll sing and play our part tonight and pass the music on for the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain. It's the song of generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old-time music of good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. I am here tonight to pass the music on. We are here tonight to pass the music on Facebook.
All right, that is beautiful. I just love that song. I mean, it's such a great reflection of where all this comes from, and that it's all about passing it along. And for those who are listening out there, don't forget there is going to be a real special concert coming up this Friday, right, Tom?
The Friday
Schimmel
night
Center?
Schimmel Center, and then Saturday night, if you're down in a little lower down, we're going to be in Toms River, New Jersey. This is with myself and Michael and John, the friends, my good buddy in my band, and Abigail and Lily, the Chapin sisters. And it's going to be a shared concert, and it's just going to be great fun. 2 nights, and lots of other stuff happening. And somebody was up there, and a week later, I'm going to be up in Cafe Lena's in Saratoga. And you can go on my website, tomchapin.com, and or the Facebook page as well. Well, you'll find out where I'm going to be this summer. I'm going to be out in the West Coast a couple times as well. Going to be in Dunlop, California, at the California Auto Harp Society in May, and in June at the Kate Wolf Festival, one of the very storied folk festivals out in California.
Absolutely.
As well as we're on doing Winfield and a bunch of great stuff. So check my website.
Will do. And I'm so glad that you played that last song, because I thought it really demonstrates your amazing guitar playing. You get a lot of kudos for songwriting and performing and all that, all of which is wonderful. But I'm always amazed at your guitar playing. I don't think that gets nearly enough attention. How that all happened? How did you actually evolve in over the years?
Well,
did you do like most folk singers and just kind of begged and borrowed and stole from other people you played with, or did you actually take lessons? What's the story?
Well, I started out, of course, just with Harry. I was 12, Harry was 14, Steve was 11. We hear the Weavers at Carnegie Hall out in New Jersey, where we spent the summers. My Uncle Mike, a little few years older than us, had got a Sears Roebuck guitar, silver tone. Maybe it was Montgomery Ward's, but he got a guitar. And we heard this record, and Harry said, we could do that. And he got himself a banjo. It had been my grandma Chapin's brother, Harry. It had been his banjo. She had it in her basement, and it was a string style.
Right.
And then about a year later, my dad took me to Manny's Music on 48th Street and got me an Epiphone guitar, which was really made by Gibson in those times, and a really good guitar. And I learned really early on to start playing the folk stuff. You learn chords, and then I heard the finger picking. Let me do this a little higher so you can see it. And of course, the first thing you always learn is freight train.
Right.
Finger picking. So if you learn how to play on the beat like that. So I did that for about a day and a half at home, and my brothers are going nuts. Play something different, And then I learned how to play off the tempo. So I did that's on the beat, and then I learned. And after a while, you learn how to do both. So we learned that, and of course Steve and I had been choir boys, so we were singers already. And Harry was never in the choir, but the joke is he hung around the girls' choir a bit. But we were, but Steve and I could sing harmony. So when we started the Chapin Brothers, Harry would sing melody, and Steve and I would just work out harmonies really quickly, and we could play and sing. And but as I started playing, I started hearing these other people, and I heard, and we were in high school, and I was at Brooklyn Technical High School, and we started a folk club, and this guy named Stefan Grossman, who you can just Google if you guys are interested. Just Google Stefan Grossman, but he was doing really studying the great black guitarists, and he was taking lessons from Reverend Gary Davis, who I didn't know who he was, but he was from Durham, North Carolina, and mostly blind, had a little bit of sight, but a blind street singer, and a reverend, and he was a genius on guitar. He tried to make the guitar sound like a ragtime piano. And so Harry and I, Stefan said, well, I'm having a lesson next week. Come with me. So we did. We jumped in the subway after school and went up to Harlem, got off at 125th Street, went to 137th Street, and underneath into this little house in the back, and there was Reverend Gary Davis, and where he and his wife lived. And he had come to New York at that point, and he got a lesson for $7, and I just watched him do the lesson, and that changed my world, because I just watched Reverend Gary Davis do. It was I listened to some of his records after a while, and I learned this from him. Let me turn this down so you guys can see it a little bit. Is that better? Let us get together right down here. Let us get together right down here. Let us get together right down here. Oh, let us get together, children, right down here. Sloppy, but that was the idea.
Oh man! Wow, that's great.
And by the
hey,
way,
Tom,
this is one of Harry's guitars, actually. This Martin.
Really?
I just got it back from Martin. We set the neck for it. It was he gotten this 6 months before he died. He got 3 of them, and Sandy gave me one of them. So I still play it.
Wow.
Nice.
Special. Hey Tom, we have a phone call from Jean. Hold on one sec. Hi, Jean. Jean, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
I am. I'm right here.
Yeah, and you're on the air with Tom.
Hi, Tom. It's Jeannie from Indiana. You know me.
I do. Hi, Jeannie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing? We've had. How's the weather out there? We've had a bunch of snow here. But it's
I just wanted to say thanks for passing the music on, and thanks to you and all the rest of the Chapins for all the difference you've made in the world and making this place a better place to be. And just thanks for everything you do. And everything you've done, you do with a whole lot of class. That's the Chapin way. So thanks a lot. And I get to see you pretty soon. So, looking forward to it.
Cool. Thanks so much for calling in, Jeannie. Thanks, and carry on. Appreciate it.
We have a bit of a delay there, but thanks, Jean. That was. Are you? I think she's gone. Okay. Anyways, that's great. I mean, that must make you feel pretty good when you hear callers like that, Tom. I mean, well, we all try and make a little difference in the world, but being out there in the public, it could be a good or a bad thing at times, I'm sure, right? But generally speaking,
it's a lovely way to make a living, if you can. But I just, as I say, I've been doing this a long time, and the fact that people are actually listening to me is still a blessing, So it's really sweet to hear that. But just like you, we're just trying to move it forward and just keep rising a little bit, keep the light going.
Yep, just kind of keep pushing it in the right direction.
They put down this 2018 Best Male Artist International Acoustic Music Awards. This is interesting because I'm on the web, and I get this notice that the International Acoustic Music Awards looking for songwriters, blah blah blah. So I said, well, let me just send in a song. I had no idea who this was or what it was, and I forgot about it. And then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a note that said, you just won the Best Male Artist of the Year. And it was just for one song. And the song was a song of my Threads recording, the one before this, which is about songwriting, about the fact that how much people like me, CDs, it looks like they're going the way of all flesh. They're selling cars now that don't have CD holders in them, talking about how streaming is taking over. And that's really hurt, young performers and myself as well. The money from that you used to make on recordings is gone. So I wrote this song with my friend Phil Galston. Not long ago, I made a go of writing songs for you. Sold cassettes, LPs, CDs, got paid for what I do. Times have changed, rearranged, I know that bird is flown. But come on, they gotta pay us when they play the songs we own. When words and music turn to data, a squiggle on your screen. Bits and bytes on our devices, who could have foreseen? The songs I wrote, the songs you wrote, are private property. Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, they say they're helping me. What? They take our words, take our music, give us back chump change. Pick our pockets, take the profits. What a losing game. Now I'm a creator, not a corporate raider. So here's what I want to see. Pay and play the right way, the way it's supposed to be. I got the fair pay, fair play blues. They take our tunes and we don't get to choose. When the big boys win, the creators lose. And man, that's bad news. I got the fair pay, fair play blues. And it goes on, but I'll stop it right here.
Boy, it really has changed, hasn't it? The business part of it.
It has.
And have you talked to your daughters about that? Because they're still kind of in the beginning. How are they facing that and thinking about the future?
Well,
I guess I should ask them.
You should ask them, but they do say, they asked, there they are with their babies. Look at that. Great. Those babies are now 2 years old each and talking a blue streak. And there we are at I think that might be at Clearwater. And there's Fred Hellerman to the right there. And here we are at the Pete Seeger concert up at Lincoln Center. Yeah, look at that. It's a tricky thing, though. People who want to make the music, there's still lots of people making music, but it really is. Abigail once said, "Dad, we talk about this bird has flown. Isn't that door? Hasn't that already taken place?" But they're actually right now. There's they're trying to work out a new copyright setup for songwriters because it's just unfair and unsustainable. Sirius and some of those places are not even making a living. Spotify is just not a good business model. They're not paying us, and they pay these tiny little things, and they're not making money. So we'll see how it shakes down, but it's unsustainable and not fair for the creators, and no one wins if creators lose. It's time to face the music.
No,
we
absolutely.
got fair play blues. Right.
Yeah. Well, Tom, we're getting close to the end here. It's been almost an hour, and it's been just such a joy. Can you believe it? It's flown by. I've got about 3 or 4 more pages of questions, but I'm getting hungry. So I don't know about you.
I am too. So let me see here. Let's do one verse of a song that I also did on the Threads album. It's one of Harry's that I've always loved. It was just any old kind of day, the kind that comes and slips away, kind that fills up easy my life's time. Night brought any old kind of dark. I heard the ticking of my heart. And why am I thinking something's left behind? Night has had its laughing when street lights blind the stars. So now it's shedding rain to sing its sorrow, sorrow. It's time for me to sleep and to rest my thoughts away. There'll be another day when things will go my way, and there's other things to say, and there's other songs to play. There'll be time enough for thinking come tomorrow. It was just any old kind of day, the kind that comes and slips away, kind that fills up easy my life's time. Night brought any old kind of dark. I heard the ticking of my heart. Then why am I thinking something's left behind? Why am I thinking something's left behind? Ooh, ooh.
Oh, wow. Beautiful, Tom. That was just beautiful. Well, thanks so much for spending so much time with us today. And just a shout out to everybody that's listening out there. Tom's new album is getting ready to drop here right now, basically here in the next few weeks at the Turning Point. And if you want to get an early copy, right, you're going to have some at the concert coming up, right?
At all the concerts we're doing, and actually, if you go on my website and call or email to Claudia at tomchapin.com, you can probably find one as well. So thanks so much, Bill. Thanks for your help, and to Mike Grayeb and all the folks who are listening. Thanks for listening in. I hope we see you down the line.
Thanks so much. And yes, Mike, our unsung hero behind the scenes here, pulling this all together. So great job, Mike. And we'll talk to you soon.
Good night, guys.